Hey guys, well, as the title says, I wanted to talk to you about my experience as a smoker since I was a big smoker, about 3 packs a day, since I was, well, about 30 years old, and I stopped when I was 41. So can you imagine, about 11 years that I was smoking 3 packs a day. That's 75 cigarettes per day. And I have to admit that sometimes it was even more. That's crazy. Of course that's crazy. Why I wanted to talk to you about it today is the simple reason that I have a few friends about my age, because today I'm 58, that are still smoking. And they know the danger of smoking. It's been established. I think that people who said that there's no danger, or to die from that or other thing, I think that's because they want to be blind and they want to continue smoking, and they try to find some kind of argument so they cannot have to stop smoking. Because, you know, I think that as a smoker we don't give a shit about others. If you're like me, we smoke because we want to smoke, and what's happening to others because of our smoking, we don't give a damn. That's a shame though, but that's the way we are when we're a smoker, and especially when we're a big smoker like I was. I didn't give a hoop about anything, even if in those times we had 3 children. Well, we still have 2 children, but they were living with us. They were quite young, and I didn't give a hoop about how it could affect them. I didn't care. Well, you know what? If you don't care for your own person, it's hard to take care of others. That's the main problem. And like I said, I have a friend whose name is Miriam. She's a subscriber on our channel, and she has a problem smoking. She cannot stop it, and even if she doesn't smoke in the house, she goes outside, but still she's kind of she's not her own person. You know, when you're controlled by a substance, being cocaine or whatever, you know, booze or anything else, you're not your own person. You're being controlled by a substance that it's bad for you. Of course it's bad for you. Listen, I started smoking when I was about, well, you can say mostly seriously when I was about 15. I started smoking, well, not even a pack a day, but it's something that you can, you don't strive for, but eventually it's more and more. It's a bit like going with soft drugs. Sometimes it brings you to something more hardcore as drugs. I think it's the same way with cigarette. Instead, that cigarette, you start small, and then you get more and more cigarette per day. So I think it's bad either way. The problem is, you know, the worst thing about it is just to show you how we don't give a damn for our own health. So how can you give a damn for others? When I was 16, I was just about turning 17. I had a big car accident. As we were passenger, me and my friend, we were friends since we were not toddlers, but I think we were about 7 or 8 years old when we first met, and we stick together like glue to one another. We had fun together, and we were hanging out with some older guys, but they did bring us everywhere, you know. They did bring us in bars and everything. So when you're 16 and you have someone together, we were getting in, how do you say, dancing bar? You know what I mean? Topless bar? Yeah, I think it doesn't exist anymore over here. So, but it was fun for us, okay? But one particular night in September, we were celebrating our 18th birthday. I mean, the 18th birthday of my friend who died in in a car accident that we had. We were a passenger and we had a big accident late at night, and I had a big problem. I had almost every rib broken, and it affected my lung. And can you imagine? I still smoke afterwards. I was supposed to die. It's something else, eh? And still, I was smoking, and I even smoked more after. It's sure that in '77 we didn't have nobody to take care of us, or a psychologist to see us, and you know, we were left on our own. Even if we had, of course, PTSD, we didn't have nobody. So that was something that it was hard to deal with, but everybody had to deal with this in their own way. For me, I was a bit aggressive though when I was younger, and the cigarette came as my friend. I think the cigarette replaced almost my friend. So that's crazy, I know, but you know, when sometimes in my life I thought about quitting smoking, but I couldn't view myself living without a cigarette. Can you imagine? That's crazy. And like I said, between the age of 30, maybe 28 years old, up all the way when I stopped smoking at 41, now I'm 58, I was smoking 3 packs a day and more. And you know the worst is that in my life I'm self-employed. I have a company for over 25 years in landscaping. I have a few employees. And even before that, I had a restaurant. I did try some invention. I did try to make some board game. I tried everything, just not to be like everybody else in the society. I didn't want a job 8 to 4 from Monday to Friday and have my small paycheck and that's it. I couldn't live that way. Maybe the accident that I had when I was young, maybe it changed my way of thinking also, that's for sure. But when I realized that first, I didn't want to be controlled. I wanted to have my own control in my life. But when I realized that I didn't have that control, I was controlled by the cigarette. That's crazy, but even when we went into a restaurant, I did hurry myself to eat just to get out and smoke a cigarette. That's crazy, but that's how it became. There's a few reasons. You know, I was coughing so much that I think I was coughing. Every 2 words that I was saying, I was coughing. Even though to a point that I saw that it was disturbing. And some people had enough. They didn't want to be near me because I was coughing. You know, it doesn't look good when you cough and cough always. Sometimes even almost to throw up. That's crazy. But what can you have? 75 cigarettes a day and more. That's for sure. But there's a lot of reasons why I stopped. First, that's one. But the worst reason for me, not the worst, the best reason for me to stop was the fact that I realized that I was controlled by the cigarette. I didn't control my consumption of cigarette. So for me that was crazy. I love to be always in control. Maybe from the fact that I had an accident at a young age, since I wasn't in control, I think it stuck with me. And since I didn't have that control with the cigarette, I thought it was crazy. And worse was the price of the cigarette. When I stopped smoking, I think a pack was about $7, a 25 pack of cigarette. So now it's about $12. Can you imagine? That's crazy. Can you imagine 3 packs a day at $12 a pack? That's crazy. It's something that I wouldn't even, but if it was in that time, I would still smoke, that's for sure. The price didn't make me stop. It's not the price. What made me stop, it's 2 things. The fact I was coughing too much, and the fact that I wasn't in control anymore of my life. I was controlled by that damn cigarette. So one day I had enough. And I said to myself, that's it. Another thing, I had 2 pumps. You know, for people who have emphysema and everything. So those 2 damn pumps, which I took for 3 years before I stopped smoking. In fact, I was using them just to keep on smoking. Can you imagine? That's crazy. So one day I said, enough. It's not a question of money. It's a question, I cannot go anywhere without having people look around when I'm there because I was coughing too much. And secondly, the fact that I wasn't in control anymore, that was hard for me to take. So what I decided, I said enough is enough. In that time though, we didn't have the small thing, you know. I don't know how you call it. Here we call it pipette. To smoke, to have, but it's a non-smoking thing, you know. I think you know what I mean. But we didn't have those things. We only have Nicorette, the gum Nicorette, and the patch. So what I took the patch. But the last day I did smoke, I smoked like crazy, one after another, without letting go of it. It was crazy. In the house there was smoke everywhere. You had a hard time just to look at the TV. Can you imagine? And just before I went to bed, I took everything, the ashtrays, everything that was related with cigarette. I threw it away in the trash. That's it. I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. Just before, that's the only thing I'm not sure, and I'm not recommending it, but just before going to bed, even if I had all those smoke, I took a patch and I put it on myself. The next day, just when I come up, because at that time, you can imagine, since I was smoking 3 packs a day, when I got up in the morning, the first thing I did, it was to light up a smoke, that's for sure. But the next day, when I got up, I took another patch and put a patch. It was a program with a patch for about a month or a little bit more. I think it was almost three months, and with less and less nicotine in each of 2 weeks or something like that. But imagine I only use the patch for 1 week and a half. Life was so great. Listen. Just 2 days after I stopped smoking, I didn't have to use my pump, and I wasn't coughing anymore. So, you know, there's a point to end it all. What you want to do, you want to do your own thing and smoking. You have to think what you get out of this thing. You pay to kill yourself. Can you imagine? That's so crazy. I think it's like any drugs. You don't do things normally or intelligently. You do things by your control by those substances, and that's what I wanted. Listen, it was the yes, of course, I had to deal with weight problem afterwards, because up to now I didn't. Up to then, I should say, I didn't eat any dessert. I think I didn't have time with all the smoking I did, but afterward I did. But I wasn't quite smart enough to take some measure, you know, to eat some health food instead of cake. I should have taken a carrot or a celery or something like that. I know it's not as fun, but listen, cigarette is not fun in the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's quite destructive, and there's no positive thing that you can get out of the cigarette. That's for sure. So for me, like I said, the patches, that was the thing. But for me, I would say that it's about 50-50. 50% of the reason why I stopped and why I succeeded was because of the patch, but the other 50%, I think, is the most important one. You have to be decided. You have to decide, enough is enough. I want to stay here as long as I can. And I want to see my children grow. I want to see children of my children grow up as older as I can see them. So it's a question of life. So you have to think about it. So, you know, I know a lot of people talk about it and they say you have to do something. To each his own. Some people are going to use the Nicorette gum or other kind of product. But like I said, you try because I have to be frank with you. In all the years that I smoked, since I was 15 years old all the way to 41, I did try a lot of things on and off. Nothing worked. But the main reason was because I wasn't decided. I wasn't quite decided enough to take some steps, some real steps to stop. Because it was to a point that I was thinking to myself, how the hell I'm going to live my life without a smoke? Can you imagine? It's up to this point that you know that something's wrong with you. When you cannot imagine your life without those damn cigarettes, something's wrong, that's for sure. So you have to think about all those things, to take some measure, some concrete measure to stop it, because you have to think, of course, first of all, you have to think of yourself, because when we smoke, we don't think of ourselves, so we don't think of others. But when we get older, we start thinking that, yeah, maybe I shouldn't, or I shouldn't. It's the same thing for everyone. And there's a lot of people who said that, well, my grandfather lived all the way up to 80 years old, and he was smoking. Yeah, so what? He could have lived maybe up to 100 if he would have not smoked. You know, it's easy to justify one thing over the other. You can have as many justifications to continue smoking, but it won't be smart anyway, because, listen, if there's still some people out there who say that cigarette doesn't bring you a lot of health problem, something's wrong with them. You have to be clear of where you're going with it. So guys, I hope I'm convincing you that life is better after the cigarette thing. I'm telling you, it's the best thing of our life. It's to stop those damn things. Then you're your own boss. At least if you're not in your job, you're gonna be your own boss in your life. I think that's the most important thing. And think of your loved one. Think of yourself, man. You have to grow and grow in good health. If not, what is the purpose of it? So, you know, guys, we're not even talking about the money involved. Like I said, I hope I did conscientize you in something. I don't know if the word is exact, but you know what I mean. I hope it makes you think about quitting. For me, it worked. So I've been a non-smoker since 2001. So you know, even less than that. I think in 2000 I stopped smoking. So anyway, it's been a long time since now I'm starting to forget about it. So that's kind of great. So guys, hope you enjoyed. Hope you're gonna come back again. Thanks for being there. And like always, please guys, stop smoking, subscribe, leave a comment, and share. It's always appreciated. See you on the next video. Take care. Ciao.